My teammate and me are arguing for the motion that animals research for psychology purposes should be banned. We believe that the use of animals in laboratory experiments would be classified as immoral. Even though animals are very useful for experiments conducted in the biological fields of psychology, for instance, mice can breed much quicker than humans, so inheritance can be investigated without any time-consuming concerns. Also, the genes arrangement along their chromosome is similar enough to be applied to humans. However, in some studies, like a deep studying of animals' brain may not be generalized to humans, as human brains are much more complex. Despite the fact that some animals have similar genes to humans, their genetic structure still would not be the same as humans. Studies which use animals might lack validity because some diseases like Parkinson have to be replicated in animals using drugs, so it may not be the same as the disease itself. Also, humans' lives are more complex, and it is not possible to exclude factors like animals.
In our modern days, millions of rats, cats, dogs, primates, and other animals are locked inside cold, barren cage in laboratory. Their bodies are aching, craving for warmth and freedom, and waiting to be set free. Instead, they can only wait in fear or the next painful events that are going to happen. They shake in fear every time when people walk past their cage. They were so much in pain and stress that some of them even start pulling out their own hairs. And eventually, after an eternal lives of pain and loneliness, most of them will be.
We believe that animal research for psychological purposes should be used and should not be banned. And we think this because such research is absolutely essential in maintaining and advancing our quality of life, our species' quality of life, and even the quality of life of the species that are being tested on. And we also think that such research is practically more convenient, it's more effective, and it's just more conceivable than conducting similar research on humans. Chloe mentioned the practical arguments. We think that the costs do not outweigh the benefits, and we think this because in our new era with ethical guidelines such as the BPS, the ethical costs have been reduced, and experimenters now have to adhere to guidelines and therefore can't actually breach many codes of ethical conduct on animals. Case. First of all, just for a second, I'd like you to help me out and try and envisage a world without conventional medical treatment. Envisage a world with no drugs, no vaccines, no radiation, and no surgery. Envisage a world where if you suffered from a mental disorder like schizophrenia or another mental disorder associated with dementia, you could not ever hope for a cure or for better methods of treatment to come about in the future. You would have absolutely no hope. Also, try to envisage a world in which we have an incomplete understanding of how human thought processes and human behavior works, which may create unfair and destructive prejudices against those who don't think like us, as in the past. The world you're envisaging right now is a world without animal research in psychology, and it is this world that Doe and I will be arguing against.
First of all, I would have to rebut your proposition that you asked me how I feel about if I would get locked up in a cage. I would say that it is not different from a zoo, where children just go and watch all these animals walking around in a cage, and it's no different from a psychology experiment. Second, I think it is self-contradicting what you are saying, because you say that ethical guidelines says that animals are like humans and should be treated equally. But you're also saying that their genetics are not the same. So, if they are just simple organisms and have lesser sense of pain and suffering compared to humans, and also less complex structure, why shouldn't we use them? Actually, pro-speciesism suggests that we ought to do all we can do to protect our own species. It is the survival of the fittest, as Darwin suggests in his evolutionary theory. Lastly, I would like to state that there are many practical advantages for psychological research compared to human. If you don't use animals as a sample, people have to use humans, which, in my own opinion, is even more unethical.